Okay, so first question, what was our experience of digital? Well, we've spent a lot of time creating wonderful resources, but do we actually know if people are finding those resources? People who know they want to get those resources might not even be able to find the stuff that's out there, so there's a finding problem, let alone the people that don't know that they want to access those resources. And once they get to the data, how do we make that data exciting for them, was a question. So I think we need to be aware of audiences to make sure that what we're producing actually meets the needs of the audiences. We had a chat about what we might put on these various databases and so on. What's the nature of an object? So a photograph of an object will obviously go on, but what happens if we talked about a massive walk-in fridge as something that might be something that you want to record, but you wouldn't want to collect the fridge, so you take a photograph of it. So does that photograph become, therefore, the object and more important than the photograph of another object that you might have in the collection? I don't know the answer. We talked about projectitis. So the idea that every research project generates another digital resource, its own discrete thing, and they don't necessarily all join up together. So things like the Whistler project creates lots of fantastic data but doesn't actually feed into the Hunterian database. So there's an element of all of these disparate things being created but not actually joining up together, which could be a bit of a problem. And when that happens, you lose control of your data. And we've had a Wikimedian in residence in Glasgow museums, and that's been quite interesting, and discussions about loss of control of data and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, or whether we're just being a bit precious and we should let it go and people can do whatever they want with the data. And also the idea that with projects, you can build in obsolescence. So things like Glasgow Story, fantastic project, but it's a bit of an archive in its own right. It hasn't been developed and updated and grown beyond what the project funding was there to do, which is a bit of a shame. In terms of gaps in evaluation, I think it's fair to say we probably have no idea who's using all of this stuff. We might know what they're looking at and where they might be accessing that information from, but really we've got no idea who it is and why they're doing it, and actually is it acceptable to know why. I know a very specific project, you know exactly what people are doing, but should we be spying on people that are using our data, or should we be more relaxed and just let it go? We talked about social media and how that's impacting. There's lots of information flying about on social media. There's no way of capturing all of that information in a logical form. There's just too much data to be able to make sense of, I think, in terms of evaluation and trying to control it all. There's stuff about user expectation. In terms of the network future opportunities, apart from beer, which sounds like a very good idea, there was a consensus. It was considered to be a generally good format. It was useful for networking, exchanging ideas, and so on. Perhaps we should invite some funders along so we can understand some of the issues that are being discussed. And we also had a thought about, for future sessions, could they be more thematic, whether it might be about marketing or social media or digital preservation or the nature of curatorship. But there's a danger then that if you do that, you might limit the audience, and actually a more general thing might be better.
Users also suffer from being innocent about when it comes to copyright, and they get very confused as to what they can use and they can't use, even though it's very clearly stated. They just assume that if it's online, they can use it. And there have been teachers taken to court for using things that they shouldn't have used, rediscovered, which is quite frightening.
Not by us.
And the whole thing of whether you can have one system that suits different users and the different audiences means The other side of the copyright issue was forgiveness is easier than permission, and we should always just push forward and do things until somebody stops us. Thinking about, sort of on the value side, there are other things that can be measured. The value that the curator or the owner and the user has towards a collection is something we should understand better when we do it at the moment. And the whole issue as to whether if you have to pay for a service, some of these commercialised services, do you actually get a better level of service than the taxpayer who has to pay, who gets a public service? Do you get a better service? Can you demand more from paid service? It's probably something nobody's looked at. And then there's a whole idea of whether when something is digitised it's to attract somebody to come to look at the original, or whether digitisation is the end in itself and you're perhaps not wanting the actual original to be brought out once more to be shown. And I think that's perhaps the difference between the archive world and the museum world. We may not really, digitisation is so that we don't have to produce the original work. It's more of a preservation issue.